Okay there, I hope you can hear me okay, using the internal microphone in the camera. I decided that I was going to spend a little bit of money and see what interesting things I could buy on eBay. And one of the things I was looking for was a poor quality trumpet just to have lying around the house. And this is what I came up with. I paid £23.55 for this trumpet, and it's arrived, and the photographs on eBay were not particularly clear. It was described as a student trumpet, whatever that is, and as you can see, it's in a very retro looking case. So I'm going to open it up and see what is inside. What I expect there to be in here is a very old, probably quite damaged trumpet with all the slides seized. We shall see. So here we go. Well, it's one of those old retro cases. We've got some packing here. Right, first thing I notice in the case, this was in the photograph, Dennis Wick practice mute. That's in pretty good condition. Selmer styrofoam mute. It's got a couple of cracks in it. These are actually quite interesting mutes because they produce a very hard sound. Louis Armstrong used to play on a plastic practice mute in the straight mute in the 50s. So I'll put those to one side. Have you ever heard his hard, hot sound in the 50s? It was something similar to that. So here it is, a trumpet with presumably chrome trim on it. It says on it, see if you can see this, student foreign. So I mean, this will be East European, it will be East German or Czech, I would think. I don't see enough of those sort of trumpets to be able to see exactly what it is, what the origins of this is. Let's have a look. Okay, well, someone has cleaned this, because that's spotless there. Well, oh, we have moving main tuning slide. I have here my mouthpiece, so we shall give it a go and see if I can actually play a scale on it. Well, we have a working trumpet. Well, there's no doubt that's a working trumpet, but there's some other things in the case. Sorry? It seems to be a spare spring, but clearly there are springs in it. A tiny, tiny amount of valve oil. It's a mouthpiece of some sort. Wouldn't like to think what that was. Might be useful for something. Original guarantee card, I would guess from the 60s, possibly the 50s. What does it say? It says, this was actually in the eBay advert. Although just the top part of it, I didn't see the bottom part. In fact, this is was supplied by Selmer. It's a Selmer instrument from 114 Charing Cross Road, London. So what I've done is bought a Selmer student trumpet of foreign origin. Now, looking at the instrument, or feeling it rather, there's one, it is flattened round here. So it has become, just particularly around here, it must have been dropped or some pressure put on it at some stage. You can also see here that this brace has been resoldered. I think this has been serviced relatively recently because these water key corks are practically brand new. Maybe someone had it serviced, put it into storage. The caps are all opening. So, £23.55. We've got a trumpet that makes a noise, and a couple of mutes. What we don't really have is a mouthpiece. That's pretty horrible. But you know, you can get a mouthpiece from China for £3 delivered. So I mean, this has to be a bargain, surely, by anyone's standards. Have yourself a trumpet. You could buy a plastic trumpet for £120, but I mean, £23.55. That's a good buy. I shall clean up the case, oil the locks. First thing I'm going to do though is take this apart and scrub it. And when I do that, I will do a second bit of the video where I actually play it, and we will see what sort of noise it makes. Okay, bye for now. Well, the student trumpet is now fully cleaned, and I'm pleased to say that it's working quite well. It's come out of the bath. All the individual parts have been scrubbed, soapy water, the usual thing, and it's all ready to go really. Nothing was jammed. The interesting thing about the valves is they turned out to be outer sprung, like Besson valves, which is probably why they're quite a nice action. A little bit of noise here and there, but pretty good. The bore of the instrument, I haven't measured it, but it's something, it's like a medium bore. It's not a narrow bore, or probably medium bore. It's a fairly heavy trumpet. I mean, compared to the cheap Chinese ones, this is a lot more substantial. I mean, it's like a Veltklang or something like that. It feels in that area. But it has these rather nice chrome highlights and things, chrome sections. There was not a lot of rubbish in it. It was surprising. It must have been cleaned relatively recently. What I found in the bottom of the valves, there was a lot of build-up of oil, heavy oil of some sort of black deposits. I haven't really seen that much before. I think someone's probably had the wrong oil in there. The lead pipe was pretty clear, but where the dirt was in that mouthpiece. I'm going to tell you, give you a good Scottish word now, which is manky. 90% of the dirt that was in that bowl when I finished washing it was from that mouthpiece. It was absolutely solid. You couldn't even see through it. So that will just be for the bin, I think. I don't think that mouthpiece is of any use. The end's all damaged and everything else. Now, I had a little blow on it. I normally tend towards a slightly deeper mouthpiece for normal playing about. When I put my HT3, which is like a Bach 3, into it, it was playing quite low on the pitch. So you had to the tuning slide almost right in. But that's a deep mouthpiece. And also I tend to play low into the bottom of the pitch anyway. It's one of these things, like this would have been quite an experienced player. There's a tendency to play near into the bottom. So I've tried it with a slightly shallower mouthpiece, and I'll let you hear what it sounds like. Now, it's got no trigger, no triggers or finger rings. This probably slightly longer tuning slide. That's how they did it in these days. So you have to compensate on various notes. But this instrument works. That's me trying to remember La Vie en Rose, which of course I have not remembered. The thing that brought this, made me buy this, was last Christmas I was doing a show with a choir, and we went round, the brass section went round to the musical director's house. He happens to be a horn player, but he is a musical director. We went round for a quick practice of some of the brass parts, and on his grand piano was sitting a trumpet, and he said, you should have a go of that. It was an old Veltklang, East German, or what was DDR at the time, trumpet. And it actually sounded all right. And what I did was I picked it up, put my mouthpiece in, and I played a little bit of the Haydn Trumpet Concerto. It was quite surprising how good it was. So that made me think, I could do with a good old beater trumpet to have hanging around the house, blow it every now and again. Then I thought about buying a plastic trumpet and never got round to it. So let's try a bit of the Haydn. I can see that this is actually a little bit needing some water taken out of it. Yeah, I mean, that works. That's basically a Bach 3C sort of ish mouthpiece in there. If one of my kids came home with this from school and they said, I'm going to be learning the trumpet on this, I wouldn't be unhappy. It's not worth fixing that bell issue. I mean, lots of old trumpets have got bits of damage like that. And it's had a good clean. I might check the valve alignment, but there's nothing really wrong with it. In fact, it did have shims in there, so it's clearly been serviced at some point in its history. So there we go. It's I don't know whether we would call this a Selmer or not, but it's supplied by Selmer. Student model trumpet. I'm going to need to have a wee look at this as well. It doesn't actually bother me. It's obviously bent round a bit. It's the sort of thing that could easily be fixed if I wanted to do it, but again, any point? Probably not. So that's that for now. Probably the cheapest trumpet. It is the cheapest trumpet I ever bought, £23.55, and I've got a practice mute and a straight mute as well. What I didn't get was a mouthpiece, but you can get a generic mouthpiece sent over from China for about £3 if you wanted to wait. £10 if you bought one locally. So I mean, it's a £30 thing, and nice retro case. What's not to like about that? So that's all for now, and I'm going to go back to eBay and have another little route around and see if I can find any other £23 trumpets. So there you go. Bye for now.